Thank you very much indeed, Mr. President. Welcome to our colleagues from Djibouti, Eritrea and Somalia. I'd like to thank Council members for their unanimous support for this resolution. It lifts sanctions on Eritrea. It sets out the Council's continued support for efforts to improve peace and security in Somalia. The agreement to lift sanctions on Eritrea recognises the improvements in regional peace and security and the positive steps Eritrea has taken to meet the demands of the Security Council. And it is right that in the light of such developments, we reconsider the measures. It is also right that we continue to urge dialogue between Eritrea and Djibouti on the Djiboutian combatants missing in action and on the resolution of their border dispute. We look forward to continued efforts to normalise relations between both countries, and we stand ready to assist. Turning to Somalia, we condemn in the strongest terms the horrific attacks in Mogadishu on Friday. It's clear that al-Shabaab continues to pose a serious threat to the peace and stability of Somalia and the region. This resolution underlines our full support for the Somali authorities in their efforts to combat this threat. In this context, we welcome the progress to date on security reform. Further progress is now essential to implement the national security architecture and make full use of integrated regional Somali forces to deliver a successful transition to Somali-led security. Coordinated international engagement will remain key. We also look forward to further cooperation between the Somali authorities and the reconstituted panel of experts on the implementation of the arms embargo. Mr. President, I think the countries concerned and the region deserve to be congratulated on the important steps forward that they have taken that have made this resolution possible today. Not only is it a very important step for the countries in the region, I think it sends a helpful wider signal to the international community that if the right steps are taken, sanctions can be lifted. The United Kingdom has the pleasure to continue to offer its full support to the Somali authorities, the Djiboutian and Eritrean authorities, the Sanctions Committee, and the panel of experts in their efforts to support peace and stability. Thank you, Mr. President.
及英国代表的发言，我现在请埃塞俄比亚代表发言。
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me first welcome Ambassador Abu Bakr Osman of the PR of Somalia, Ambassador Mohammed Wali of Djibouti, and Mr. Emmanuel George Charge Diafir of Eritrea. Let me start by welcoming unreservedly the adoption of Resolution 2444. We greatly appreciate the United Kingdom for its efforts as penholder in facilitating the negotiation on the resolution, and all Council members for voting in favor of the resolution. We fully support the resolution drafted by UK, which we believe is balanced and a result of consensus made of the negotiation over the last couple of days. We commend the role played by Somalia and Eritrea Monitoring Group and the committee, which has done great work in supporting the peace and security in the Horn of Africa. Mr. President, the whole trajectory of future development in our sub-region has changed fundamentally in recent months. Countries of the region have opened a new chapter of normalizing relations, a relation which truly reflects the long-standing historical ties between our peoples. This has already had enormous implications for the work of the committee and the sanction regime as a whole. It also has great significance for regional and international peace and stability. We are adopting this resolution today at a time when a major and historical development is unfolding in the Horn of Africa. The breakthrough arising from the rapprochement between Ethiopia and Eritrea is already producing unprecedented and far-reaching positive consequences and is significantly changing the political landscape of the Horn of Africa and beyond. It is highly appropriate for the Security Council to take this decisive judgment when countries of the region are turning a new page in their relations. Mr. President, the Horn of Africa has a tremendous potential for common development and prosperity, provided that there is durable peace and stability. The Council decision today will help to capitalize on the opportunities we are now creating to transform the region into a zone of peace and prosperity and usher a new era of friendship between all the countries of the region. It is with this conviction that my Prime Minister has formally submitted a request to the United Nations last July to lift the sanction imposed on Eritrea. Therefore, today we are very pleased that the Council responded positively by lifting the sanction on Eritrea. On our part, we are fully committed to forge ever closer political, economic, social, and security cooperation with all the people and government of the Horn of Africa. This will serve and advance the interest of our people. It will ensure regional peace, development, and cooperation. Lifting of the sanction regime on Eritrea doesn't, of course, mean that the region is free of challenges. We still face problems that require efforts and determination to resolve. We still need the help and serious support of the international community. But on our part, we are determined to accelerate efforts to create a region where peace, development, and democracy prevail in harmony. We are confident that the international community will stand in solidarity to support us as we continue to move forward to a greater peace, stability, and economic integration in the Horn of Africa. Mr. President, it is also encouraging to note how far Somalia has come in recent years. At the same time, the rebuilding and reconstruction of the country still requires sustained engagement and support. Somalia has indeed reached an important phase in consolidating its state institutions, but Al-Shabaab remains the greatest challenge capable of creating destruction in Somalia and beyond. The security situation remains volatile, and Al-Shabaab continues to present serious danger to the peace and security of Somalia and the whole region. The string of deadly bomb attacks last Friday claimed the lives of over 50 innocent civilians and injured many more. It reflected the continuous threat posed by the group. It underlined the importance of doing everything possible to minimize Al-Shabaab's acquisition of arms or funds and the necessity to control its activities. It is particularly important at this critical juncture not to divert attention from the current process as the government prepares for the very important transition toward this election in 2020. The Council must continue to provide the fullest possible assistance to sustain the government and the transition. We must avoid the risk of reversing the gains achieved so far, gains made with enormous sacrifice by the Somalis and others in the region. Finally, Mr. President, Ethiopia will continue to be closely involved, constructively, and in a principled manner in all efforts in settling outstanding issues in good faith. I thank you, Mr. President.
我感谢埃塞俄比亚代表的发言，我现在请瑞典代表发言。
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We welcome the adoption of the resolution before us this morning. The historic and significant developments in the Horn of Africa we have witnessed the past year, triggered by the Eritrean-Ethiopian reconciliation, have dramatically changed the dynamics in the region and open a new chapter of peace and cooperation. The basis for the restrictive measures against Eritrea, adopted almost a decade ago, is no longer in place. This is why we supported this resolution. It is imperative that the Security Council continues to support the courageous decisions taken by the leaders in the region, as these developments will have far-reaching and positive consequences for the Greater Horn of Africa region and beyond. As the Secretary-General said in his address to the General Assembly, despite the chaos and confusion in our world, there are also winds of hope blowing around the globe. Mr. President, the developments in the Horn of Africa represents a unique opportunity that promises to bring not only stability to the region, but also allows its countries and peoples to reap the benefits of the political, economic, and social cooperation that will follow. It shows how regional cooperation can turn the page on war and conflict. There is still hard work ahead in order to secure the full potential of the peace dividends. We need to offer our full support in seizing the opportunities and addressing remaining concerns. We welcome in this regard the Secretary General's recent decision to expand the mandate of the Special Envoy to Sudan and South Sudan to include the entire Horn of Africa. It will give the UN a better ability to support and facilitate further positive developments in terms of peace and security, human rights, stability, and ultimately development, economic growth, and welfare. Mr. President, turning to Somalia, this sanctions regime continues to play a critical role in supporting the international effort to defeat al-Shabaab through averting the flow of illicit arms and preventing the group from raising funds, while at the same time allowing the important build-up of the Somalia National Forces, as Somalia is preparing to take greater charge of its own security. Our continued strong support to the Somali peace and state-building process will be crucial, and we must stay the course together with the Somali people in keeping up the momentum and build on what has already been achieved. I thank you very much, Mr. President.
我感谢瑞典代表的发言，我现在请哈萨克斯坦代表发言。
Mr. President, first we thank the delegation of the United Kingdom for drafting today's very important resolution. We also welcome representatives of Somalia, Eritrea, and Djibouti in this chamber. We would like to highlight that this year is marked by unprecedented, positive, and very welcome developments in the Horn of Africa. In the last few months, we have witnessed a historic rapprochement among countries of the region led by a great vision and determined political will of their leaders. Today, we see the fruitful results of courageous choices made by the regional states to close an era of long protracted tensions, conflict, and competition, and instead pave the way for a new era of peaceful and mutually beneficial cooperation. We join the international community in recognizing and highly praising the efforts of the new leadership of Ethiopia for initiating and promoting a constructive and forward-looking dynamism on the regional scale. This was aimed at advancing the nations of the region towards a long-awaited peaceful and prosperous future. The countries in the Horn of Africa have demonstrated a resolute commitment and capacity to find solutions for regional problems. Although we hail the fast progress, we are mindful of not only the challenges and impediments, but also the perils ahead in the creation of durable peace and prosperity in the region. It is important that the UN, all member states, and international organizations meaningfully support these rapid and momentous changes that are currently unfolding. These undoubtedly have far-reaching implications for the security and prosperity of the broader region, and we must ensure that these gains are consolidated. In this regard, we welcome the decision of the Secretary General to expand the mandate of the Special Envoy for Sudan and South Sudan to cover the Horn of Africa region as well. Closer collaboration between the United Nations, the African Union, and IGAD will allow to build on the recent strides in peace and security and enhance sub-regional strategies to address security and development issues. Diplomacy, mediation, confidence building, and dialogue, together with development investments, are the sure means of resolving existing disputes between countries. We welcome the engagement between Djibouti and Eritrea and encourage them to engage in further efforts to resolve the remaining challenges in their bilateral relationship. Mr. President, with regard to Somalia, we strongly condemn the terrorist attack on November 9th in Mogadishu and express our deepest sympathy and condolences to the families of the victims, as well as to the people and government of Somalia. These horrific acts of violence remind us of the fragility of the security situation in the country and the necessity to make every effort to preserve the hard-earned stability. Along with that, we acknowledge with deep satisfaction the achievements made by the federal government in its efforts to rebuild the conflict-torn nation. We commend and support the comprehensive reform agenda and development vision of Somalia's leadership. we would like to stress the importance of the sustained and coordinated support of the international community to the recovery and stabilization processes in Somalia, including through addressing the root causes of the crisis. Mr. President, Kazakhstan has added its voice today in support of the resolution due to its own resolve and conviction in the peace and prosperity of Africa. As the chair of the Sanctions Committee on Somalia and Eritrea, Kazakhstan was privileged to be a part of today's positive outcome of Security Council meeting, and particularly happy to contribute to peaceful process in the Horn of Africa. We strongly believe that the recent progress in the Horn of Africa would serve as an example for the rest of the conflicts in other parts of Africa and the world. Thank you.
我感谢哈萨克斯坦代表的发言。我现在请俄罗斯联邦代表发言。
Благодарю вас, господин председатель. Прежде всего, мне хотелось бы поздравить Эритрею, ее руководство и народ со снятием санкций по линии Совета Безопасности ООН. Мы давно говорили о том, что международные ограничения против этой страны являются нерелевантными. Убедительных доказательств поддержки АСМР и деструктивных сил в регионе за все эти годы так и не представлено. Классификация спора между Джибути и Эритреей в качестве угрозы для международного мира и безопасности после произошедших на Африканском роге изменений также устарела. Надеемся, что одобрением Совета сегодняшней резолюции станет важной вехой в деле укрепления отношений дружбы и добрососедства в регионе. Не будет преувеличением сказать, что Совет находится в долгу перед Эфиопией и ее премьером Абием Ахмедом, чьи мужественные и решительные действия во многом обеспечили результат сегодняшнего голосования. Конечно, данная резолюция не решит, как говорится, одним махом все застарелые проблемы региона. Рассчитываем, что она, в частности, станет стимулом для продвижения нормализации отношений между Эритреей и Джибути. В то же время считаем, что регулирование всех оставшихся между этими странами вопросов является компетенцией двусторонней дипломатии. При необходимости стороны могут воспользоваться добрыми услугами посредников, а также другими предусмотренными на этот счет международными механизмами. В этой связи считаем, что навязанная группой стран регулярная и, что самое удивительное, бессрочная отчетность выглядит в качестве более чем избыточного, чрезмерного требования. Сожалеем, что авторы включили в резолюцию положение, закрепляющее сексуальное и гендерно мотивированное насилие в качестве отдельного критерия подведения под санкции, несмотря на то, что такого рода деяния укладываются в существующие критерии листинга. Хочу еще раз напомнить, вопросы, связанные с международными санкциями, четко регулируются главой 7 Устава ООН, в котором речь идет о наличии угрозы международному миру и безопасности. Расширительное трактование данного положения несет угрозу потери санкционным инструментом своей эффективности и, самое главное, правомощности. Мы уже не раз говорили, на примере других страновых сюжетов разъясняли негативные последствия такого шага для работы Совета Безопасности. Вновь подчеркну, указанная тематика не является нашей прямой компетенцией. Для обсуждения этих вопросов есть Совет по правам человека или Комиссия ООН по положению женщин. Нужно соблюдать соответствующее разделение труда. Благодарю вас.
我感谢俄罗斯代表的发言。我现在请美国代表发言。
Thank you, Mr. President. The United States welcomes Eritrea's rapprochement with its neighbors. We're encouraged by its stated commitment to re-engage in an effort to establish enduring peace and regional cooperation, and to open the door to its reintegration. This is a historic moment of great opportunity for the Horn of Africa, but there's much more to do, particularly to address questions regarding the disposition of missing Djiboutian troops and the final status of the Djibouti-Eritrea border. Mr. President, we believe the recent engagement between the two countries strongly suggests the political will and intent is strong enough to reach a solution with the support of the international community. We're satisfied that the Council has agreed on a resolution that pays particular attention to the importance of Eritrea and Djibouti following through on their commitments to resolve these matters, and continue to call on all parties to cooperate to reach a satisfactory outcome. The United States predicates its support for lifting UN sanctions against Eritrea on the current lack of evidence connecting Eritrea to al-Shabaab. We appreciate the Sanctions Committee and monitoring groups' efforts to carry out their mandates in this regard. Mr. President, we strongly support the renewal of the Sanctions Committee's mandate to focus on Somalia. There is no doubt that Somalia has made significant progress over the last decade, due in large part to the support of its regional partners and the international community as a whole. However, Somali capacity, including implementation of remaining arms restrictions and the ban on trade in Somali charcoal, remains limited due to security conditions, corruption, and uneven progress in governance. We're confident that the Somali panel of experts will remain diligent in faithfully fulfilling its mandate, especially as it relates to comprehensive investigations and reporting. Mr. President, the United States will continue to support Somalia in its efforts to stabilize the country for its people, including by ensuring the international community takes all appropriate measures to maintain the integrity of the sanctions regime. Thank you.
我感谢美国代表的发言，我现在请法国代表发言。
Monsieur le Président, la France prend note de l'adoption de la résolution 2444 à l'unanimité. La France a depuis le début apporté un soutien sans faille à la dynamique de rapprochement en cours dans la Corne de l'Afrique. Il s'agit d'une évolution historique, ouvrant des perspectives sans précédent pour la stabilisation et le développement de la région. Et la France souhaiterait à ce titre saluer les décisions courageuses du Premier ministre éthiopien, M. Abiy Ahmed, sans lequel cette évolution n'aurait pas été possible. Il est de la responsabilité du Conseil de sécurité d'accompagner ces évolutions en cours dans la Corne de l'Afrique, y compris en adoptant la levée des sanctions sur l'Érythrée. Néanmoins, nous considérons que le Conseil de sécurité a encore des exigences légitimes vis-à-vis de l'Érythrée. Il s'agit tout d'abord que les autorités érythréennes coopèrent avec le Conseil de sécurité, alors que le panel d'experts n'avait pas pu se rendre en Érythrée depuis 2011. Il s'agit ensuite et surtout que l'Érythrée donne des signes d'engagement concrets à œuvrer avec Djibouti au règlement du différend frontalier entre les deux pays et au règlement de la question des prisonniers de guerre djiboutiens, conformément aux dispositions de la résolution 2385 de ce Conseil. Ce sont en effet deux problématiques encore non résolues et reconnues comme telles par la résolution que nous venons d'adopter ce jour. Et dans ce cadre, si la France a salué la rencontre de Djeddah entre les présidents djiboutiens et érythréens en septembre dernier, elle attend désormais que cette rencontre se traduise par des avancées concrètes sur le terrain et par un engagement à avancer conjointement. Il est à cet égard fondamental pour nous qu'aucun pays de la région ne soit laissé en marge de la dynamique en cours dans la Corne de l'Afrique. La France se félicite donc du fait qu'avec cette résolution, le Conseil de sécurité s'engage à continuer de suivre régulièrement l'évolution des relations entre l'Érythrée et Djibouti afin d'accompagner la paix, la stabilisation et la réconciliation dans la Corne de l'Afrique. Nous sommes bien entendu prêts à nous engager en coordination avec l'ensemble des acteurs de la région pour contribuer à renforcer cette dynamique régionale. Monsieur le Président, s'agissant de la Somalie, la France considère que le régime de sanctions demeure essentiel afin de lutter contre les trafics illicites d'armes et de charbon somaliens qui alimentent le groupe terroriste Al-Shabaab, qui reste la principale menace pour la sécurité de la Somalie. Et je tiens à ce titre à présenter les condoléances de la France aux autorités somaliennes et aux familles des victimes des terribles attaques terroristes qui ont frappé Mogadiscio ce vendredi 9 novembre. Dans ce contexte, je souhaiterais également rappeler que le régime de sanctions sur la Somalie vise avant tout à soutenir les autorités fédérales somaliennes dans leur lutte contre le terrorisme. Les procédures d'exemption à l'embargo sur les armes prévues par ce régime de sanctions permettent en effet aux autorités fédérales somaliennes de se procurer les équipements dont elles ont besoin pour lutter contre les groupes terroristes avec le soutien de leurs partenaires internationaux. Il est donc également dans l'intérêt des autorités fédérales somaliennes de poursuivre une coopération effective avec le panel d'experts sur la Somalie. Je vous remercie.
我感谢法国代表的发言，我现在请波兰代表发言。
President, Poland welcomes the adoption of the resolution renewing the measures on Somalia for 1 year and lifting the sanctions regime on Eritrea. We would like to thank UK for constructive and efficient conduct of the negotiations on the document. We acknowledge the importance of sanctions regime in case of Somalia, where the federal government is in the process of taking over full responsibility for country's security, and Al-Shabaab continues to pose serious threat to Somali stability. We hope that the renewed measures will help to limit Al-Shabaab's access to arms and financing and strengthen the government's state-building efforts. Mr. President, let me reiterate what we have stated on numerous occasions over the recent months. Poland welcomes the developments in the Horn of Africa, especially the rapprochement between Ethiopia and Eritrea and positive dynamics between Eritrea and Djibouti. We believe that sanctions are not a punishment, but a policy tool, and that they should be subject to regular review and adjustment to realities on the ground. In line with this approach, we have supporting the lifting of the sanctions regime on Eritrea. We hope that recent encouraging events will allow for achieving durable peace across the region. At the same time, we believe that Security Council should closely follow the normalization between Eritrea and Djibouti and stand ready to support the two countries' effort to peacefully resolve their differences. Thank you, Mr. President.
我感谢荷兰代表的发言，波兰代表的发言。我现在请荷兰代表发言。
Thank you very much, Mr. President. First, let me welcome our colleagues from Djibouti, Somalia, and Eritrea to this Council. Mr. President, the Kingdom of the Netherlands has a long-standing and strong commitment to peace and development in the Horn of Africa. And that's why we voted in favor of this resolution today, and we see our decision as a tribute to the positive developments that have taken place in the region. The peace agreement between Ethiopia and Eritrea represents a historic step. It paves the way for improved bilateral relations and for stronger regional peace and stability. We welcome the decision by Eritrea to start engaging with the international community and to work towards consolidation of the peace agreement. These are important steps, and we encourage Eritrea to build on this momentum to give an impulse to domestic governance reforms. This includes reforms on the economy, the national service, democratization, and human rights. In particular, we call on Eritrea to better cooperate with international mechanisms, in particular those related to human rights. Mr. President, the positive developments in the Horn of Africa do not relieve this Council from its responsibility to monitor progress closely. In particular, we underline the need for concrete steps in the normalization of relations between Eritrea and Djibouti. And that is why we welcome the decision by this Council to remain seized of this matter by asking for regular reporting on this important issue. We also emphasize that other decisions and demands made by this Council towards Eritrea remain valid. And this includes the decision by this Council that Eritrea shall cease using illicit means to collect taxes outside of Eritrea, as stated in Resolution 2023. Mr. President, finally, we welcome the renewal of the Somalia sanction measures as essential support to the Somali government in its efforts to deliver stability and security in Somalia. We welcome in particular the addition of a standalone sanctions criterion for sexual and gender-based violence. Those who commit these heinous acts should know that this Council today shows its commitment to respond to these practices. In conclusion, Mr. President, as others have done, we condemn in the strongest terms the horrific terrorist attacks in Mogadishu last Friday. Thank you, Mr. President.
我感谢荷兰代表的发言。我现在请赤道几内亚代表发言。
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. En primer lugar, agradecemos al Reino Unido por redactar esta resolución, de la misma manera que saludamos a los representantes de Djibouti, Eritrea y Somalia. La delegación de la República de Guinea Ecuatorial ha votado a favor de la resolución 2444 debido a la nueva dinámica en el Cuerno de África. Aparte de las continuas amenazas y atrocidades potenciales protagonizadas por la organización terrorista Al-Shabaab y que la resolución tiene en cuenta, mi delegación viene observando con mucha atención el desarrollo de los acontecimientos emprendidos en el Cuerno de África desde el inicio del presente semestre, los cuales marcan el inicio de una nueva realidad en las relaciones entre los países de la zona. Etiopía y Eritrea han demostrado que la reconciliación es posible y mucho más conveniente que la confrontación entre países vecinos, llegando a importantes acuerdos que han resuelto un problema de larga duración entre los dos países, desactivando así uno de los conflictos más latentes y de larga duración en África. Somalia y Eritrea han restablecido sus relaciones diplomáticas tras largo tiempo de ruptura, lo que muestra un avance muy significativo en sus diferencias. Se abrió una fase de normalización de las relaciones entre Djibouti y Eritrea cuando los ministros de Asuntos Exteriores de Etiopía, Somalia, Eritrea viajaron a Djibouti, compromiso que fue posteriormente confirmado con el encuentro de los presidentes de Eritrea y Djibouti en Arabia Saudita el pasado mes de septiembre. Nosotros entendemos que la región tiene que estar en condiciones de poder optimizar sus innegables potencialidades, por lo que es importante que los países de la zona aúnen sus esfuerzos para vencer las amenazas comunes que puedan pender sobre la región. Especialmente nos referimos al grupo Al-Shabaab. Pedimos que los temas pendientes, como el caso de los prisioneros y las fronteras, que se puedan abordar aprovechando el buen espíritu de esta resolución. Nos referimos a Eritrea y Djibouti. Para concluir, señor presidente, la convivencia pacífica y fraternal entre Estados es un elemento primordial que debe predominar en el escenario político internacional. Y esto es indispensable para garantizar una buena convivencia regional a la que todos los países están llamados a fomentar, a fin de garantizar el desarrollo de sus estados. Esta es la nueva dinámica bajo el liderazgo de Etiopía y de su primer ministro, Abiy Mohamed. Los países del Cuerno de África han decidido emprender y ese es el espíritu que debe animar esta resolución que hemos aprobado. Muchas gracias.
我感谢指导几年代表的发言，我现在请玻利维亚代表发言。
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Mi delegación desea agradecer el trabajo realizado por la distinguida delegación del Reino Unido en contribuir a la redacción de la resolución que acabamos de adoptar de manera unánime. Asimismo, saludamos a los distinguidos representantes de Djibouti, Eritrea y Somalia en esta importantísima sesión del Consejo de Seguridad. Bolivia ha seguido de cerca el desarrollo de los acontecimientos en el Cuerno de África. Reiteramos nuestra satisfacción por el nuevo enfoque de entendimiento, relacionamiento de los países de la subregión, aperturándose una renovada fase de paz y amistad que estamos seguros promoverá la cooperación en áreas fundamentales como la economía, la social, la cultural y, por supuesto, la de seguridad. En ese entendido, consideramos que los avances alcanzados hasta el momento en la región deben enmarcarse en la observancia de los compromisos para la construcción de las medidas de confianza entre los Estados. Asimismo, consideramos que los importantes acontecimientos que se desarrollan en el Cuerno de África nos muestran la importancia del liderazgo, la importancia y la primacía de la política, la necesidad del diálogo y el acompañamiento de la comunidad internacional. Mi delegación ha reiterado que en muchas oportunidades que las sanciones no son un fin en sí mismo. La Carta de las Naciones Unidas establece que las sanciones deben ser evaluadas a medida de la evolución de la situación y el contexto en el terreno. Este es un caso específico en el que la necesidad de levantamiento de las sanciones era, por supuesto, imprescindible. Señor presidente, sobre la situación en Somalia, mi delegación también condena de la manera más enérgica el reciente atentado terrorista sufrido en Mogadiscio. Expresamos preocupación por el grave riesgo que continúa demostrando la presencia de Al-Shabaab en Somalia y en la subregión, además de la amenaza que presenta la presencia de facciones de Daesh. El uso de elementos sofisticados y ataques asimétricos evidencia aquello. En tal sentido, consideramos que el Consejo y la comunidad internacional en general debe continuar brindando el apoyo al proceso político de paz y reconciliación inclusivo, dirigido y propio del pueblo somalí. Muchas gracias.
我感谢玻利维亚代表的发言，我现在请秘鲁代表发言。
Señor presidente, queremos también expresar nuestra satisfacción por la aprobación unánime de la resolución que levanta las sanciones a Eritrea que se sustenta en los positivos avances en favor del diálogo de Eritrea con sus vecinos y la distensión en general en toda la región del Cuerno de África. Debemos señalar, sin embargo, que es importante resolver los asuntos pendientes, como el de los soldados desaparecidos y el de la frontera entre Djibouti y Eritrea. El rol de Etiopía en todos estos desarrollos positivos en la región debe ser resaltado y reconocido por este Consejo. Los desafíos son todavía grandes, como el del terrorismo de Al-Shabaab en Somalia y la necesidad de avanzar rápidamente en el desarrollo de la región y la mejora de la calidad de vida de las poblaciones. Pero era muy importante que el Consejo y la comunidad internacional en general reconozca y adopte decisiones que alienten a la región a continuar en este camino hacia la paz, la reconciliación y el desarrollo. Muchas gracias.
我感谢秘鲁代表的发言，我现在请科威特代表发言。
شكرا سيد الرئيس. في البداية نود أن نتقدم بتعازينا الحارة للصومال الشقيق حكومة وشعبا لضحايا الهجمات الإرهابية التي تعرضت لها مقديشو يوم الجمعة الماضي. السيد الرئيس، شهدت دول منطقة القرن الأفريقي تطورات سياسية إيجابية ملحوظة خلال الفترة الماضية. استطاعت حكومات وشعوب هذه الدول تجاوز الخلافات وطي صفحات الماضي المؤلمة التي عاشتها أجيال عديدة ليستبشروا في مستقبل عنوانه الأمل لتحقيق الأمن والاستقرار الذي طالما تعطشت له هذه المنطقة. نشيد بجهود زعماء كل من إثيوبيا وإرتريا والصومال وجيبوتي على تحقيق ذلك الإنجاز التاريخي الذي توج بالتوقيع على اتفاقية جدة للسلام في قمة القرن الأفريقي. نرحب باعتماد القرار اليوم، وقد صوتت الكويت لصالحه انطلاقا من موقف الكويت الراسخ والثابت في السعي نحو تحقيق سلام عادل ودائم بالوسائل والطرق السلمية، وإيمانا منها بضرورة انتهاز الفرصة السانحة التي تمثلها عملية المصالحة التاريخية في منطقة القرن الأفريقي لفسح الطريق أمام تحقيق السلام المنشود، ورغبة منا أيضا في التوصل إلى صيغة توافقية تصب في نهاية المطاف في مصلحة شعوب هذه المنطقة وتأخذ بعين الاعتبار حقوق دولها. على هذا الأساس أيدت الكويت توجه المجلس نحو رفع العقوبات عن إرتريا لتمكينها من لعب دور مثمرا في جهود إرساء الاستقرار في المنطقة إلى جانب جاراتها، وخاصة تلك الجهود المبذولة في إطار تسوية خلافاتها العالقة مع جيبوتي. ونتطلع بهذا الصدد إلى تحقيق تطورات ملموسة في حلول موعد تقديم تقرير الأمين العام بتاريخ 15 فبراير 2019 حول تلك المسألة، مع مراعاة عدم إغفال عملية رفع العقوبات على أحد الأهداف الرئيسية لجهودنا المشتركة والمتمثل في دعم ومساندة الصومال على تخطي التحديات التي يواجهها، وعلى رأسها التهديد الخطير الذي لا تزال حركة الشباب تشكله. إن العقوبات تعتبر خطوة هامة أيضا لمجلس الأمن، وهو بمثابة رسالة للمجتمع الدولي بأن العقوبات لن تبقى إلى ما لا نهاية، وأنها ليست أداة لمعاقبة الدول والشعوب، وأن المجلس يتفاعل مع التطورات الإيجابية، وأنه عندما تنتهي أو تزول الأسباب التي فرضت من أجلها العقوبات فإن هذه الأداة المتاحة لمجلس الأمن لحفظ السلم والأمن الدوليين بموجب الميثاق لن يكون هناك مبرر لاستمرارها. ختاما نود أن نشكر وفد المملكة المتحدة بصفته حامل القلم على تعاطيه الشفاف خلال المفاوضات، وشكرا السيد الرئيس.
我感谢科威特代表的发言。我现在以中国代表的身份发言。首先，中方对上周五索马里发生的恐怖袭击表示谴责，对爆炸造成的人员伤亡表示哀悼和慰问。刚才安理会一致通过了第2444号决议，解除了对厄立特里亚的制裁，延长了索马里制裁委专家小组的授权。过去几个月来，非洲支角形势出现积极变化，地区国家之间的关系不断改善。 安理会解除对厄立特里亚的制裁，有利于地区国家实现和平、谋求发展，维持当前地区积极发展势头。中方对此表示欢迎。同时，非洲之角仍面临一些挑战，安理会及国际社会应根据地区国家需要，继续提供建设性帮助。我们希望有关地区国家积极抓住当前有利契机，加强对话协商，相向而行，妥善解决有关问题。希望国际社会继续帮助索马里政府重点应对沙巴布威胁，推进索马里国家重建进程。中方愿继续与国际社会一道，为非洲之角各国实现和平、稳定与发展发挥建设性作用。我现在继续行使安理会主席的职能。我现在请索马里代表发言。
Good morning, Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, allow me to congratulate you, Mr. President, on your presiding over the Security Council for this month. We are confident in your leadership and we wish you every success in fulfilling your duties. Also, I would like to commend your predecessor, the Permanent Representative of Bolivia, for his excellent leadership in guiding the work of the Council last month. Mr. President, we warmly congratulate the people of Eritrea for withstanding the hardship endured under the sanction measures. We welcome the lifting of the sanctions of Eritrea. At the same time, we want to acknowledge the effort spearheaded by President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo, His Excellence, relating to the normalization of relationship between Eritrea and Djibouti. And we hope that the two governments will engage in good faith to settle all outstanding issues in accordance with international law. Mr. President, 46 years ago, my country, Somalia, and its leadership was uncompromising and hardly working for sustainable peace, particularly in Africa. It successfully promoted and ensured the peace process negotiations during the crisis between Tanzania and Uganda. Having said that, the federal government of Somalia looks forward to the beginning of the new chapter of cooperation and partnership with all the countries in the Horn of Africa. And we will continue together to strengthen our closer ties forged between the people of the region. Mr. President, the federal government of Somalia goes on record in seeking to lift the sanctions imposed on Somalia since 1992. In that regard, I would like to raise the following points. 1. The outdated sanctions on Somalia is one of the longest United Nations sanction regime with the widest mandate. Not only the sanction violate the Somalis' unity, it also not align with federal government's policy to build capable Somali National Army. For example, paragraph 11A and paragraph 10C of the sanction regime allow countries to provide or donate weapons to Somali regional authorities without our notification, approval, or proper weapons ammunition management of the end users. Despite our belief that sanctions are flawed in principle, it continues to be imposed on Somalia without proper assessment of their effectiveness as a mean to reach Security Council's desired end goal. We once again stress the importance of having a clearly defined benchmarks to the full lifting of the sanctions on Somalia. If there are no specific steps that are clearly stated and verifiably, the incentive to comply with the UN Security Council demands as well as the effectiveness or success of the sanction regime will diminish drastically. Number 2, the terrorist groups like Al-Shabaab and ISIL remain a serious threat to Somalia's peace and stability. It has been a year since we have witnessed one of the largest and the deadliest attack on October 14, last year, 2017, on Somalia. Yet, with sadness, once again, Somali people are receiving the message of condolences and sympathy from our friends and partners for the deadly attack on Mogadishu on the 9th of November. That claimed the lives of over 50 and injured more than 100. We believe that the Security Council sanctions should target the terrorist groups like Al-Shabaab, who continue to receive weapons and resources from abroad. The Somali-Eritrea Monitoring Group concluded that the October 14 attack, and I quote, while there is no evidence to suggest that the IEDs contained homemade explosives, constructing a 1,200 kilogram bomb by traditional explosives remnants of war, harvested will entail a major logistical operations. For example, Al-Shabaab will have had to harvest approximately 6,000 60-millimeter mortars or 190 TM57 anti-tank mines. Terrorist groups like Al-Shabaab and ISIL do not go through the official import channels. As a result, our fight against terrorism becomes more challenging with a large flow of weapons and resources into Somalia. Terrorist groups in Somalia have made use of the existing trade network and short distance across the Gulf of Aden to Somalia. The impact of the war in Yemen is particularly acute for Somalia, since we lack the capacity of securing remote areas along our coastal line and borders. The flows of illegal weapons and resources must be curbed by the targeting and destroying the network that provides them. We request from our partners to help us improve our capacity in air surveillance, borders, customs, and law enforcement to control land borders and other access points like the sea and the air. It's the responsibility of the federal government of Somalia to monitor and safeguard its borders. Number 3, the build-up of the military base in Berbera continue to be clear defiance of the UN Security Council's resolutions, and as well as Somalia's unity and sovereignty and territorial integrity. The SAMG has reported for the second year in a row that the establishment of the military base in Berbera constitute a clear violation of arms embargo on Somalia. However, the construction of foreign base and transfer of military equipment is still ongoing, with the reported completion date set in 2019. We ask the esteemed members of the Council, what is the purpose of the sanction if the violations by member state are not addressed by the Security Council? What is the significance of the Security Council resolution if Somalia's sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity is continuously violated in front of our eyes? Over a quarter century, we have seen a quite number of Security Council issues statements that it's time to supplement them with appropriate actions derived from the Security Council's primary responsibility and the UN Charter for the maintenance of international peace and security. Number 4, subject matter expertise and evidence-based reporting is the best practice to be used in the monitoring of UN arms embargo. However, there seems to be little consideration given to such practice today. Throughout the mandate of the monitoring group, unlike most of the UN panel of experts on sanctions, they have been based away of Somalia in Nairobi, Kenya. As a result, the group devotes only 20% of their time in Somalia to monitor, analyze, investigate events in Somalia. Although the number of panel of experts of Somalia is one of the largest UN sanctioned regimes, the quality of their report remain mixed due to their remote location as well as the questionable level of the technical and regional expertise. And yet, the monitoring group identified those working for reform as the primary target of their investigation. False accusations, poorly evidenced claims, gossip, and political grievances were used to undermine our efforts. The federal government of Somalia will not tolerate individuals and Somali institutions and organizations being named in the report of such no evidence or little evidence. The reputation and the work of many companies and individuals who are working to invest and rebuild Somalia have been irresponsibly damaged and brought into the international question based on rumors and speculations. In that regard, we welcome the name change of the panel of experts, and we recommend their relocation to better perform their mandate tasks. Moreover, we recommend choosing from a pool of experts with high level of technical and regional expertise to undertake future investigations in Somalia. To conclude, Mr. President, we thank the Security Council for your continued support on Somalia's unity and progress. Terrorism is not only a Somali fight, it's a regional fight, it's also global. That we are all united in countering its ever-changing threats. We encourage the Council to look beyond the borders of Somalia and support us in our regional approach to the threats we are facing. This is the only way that we will able us to defeat the terrorism comprehensively and build a lasting peace in Somalia and across the world. I thank you.
我感谢索马里代表的发言。我现在请吉布提代表发言。
Thank you, Mr. President. At the outset, Djibouti wishes to express its profound gratitude to the members of the Council for this opportunity to offer Djibouti's views on the unresolved border dispute with Eritrea and the remaining 13 prisoners of war still unaccounted for. It further wishes to thank Mr. Karait Umarov, chair of the Sanctions Committee, and lauds his effort, continued faith, and perseverance in the execution of his mandate. We, of course, commend Her Excellency Ambassador Karen Pierce of the United Kingdom and her team for all their efforts in the process leading to the drafting of the resolution just adopted today. Most importantly, Djibouti expresses its gratitude to the members of the Council for the unanimous support to its legitimate security concerns, aspirations, and goals. First, on Somalia, Djibouti is heartened by the progress made in the implementation of the political roadmap, the national security architecture, and the transition plan, and supports the call for acceleration of these efforts. Djibouti welcomes the adoption of Security Council Resolution 2431, extending the mandate of AMISOM until May 2019. AMISOM's continued enabling role and support is vital in the implementation of the transition plan and strengthening of the capacities of the Somali security forces. However, it notes with utmost concern that Al-Shabaab remains a threat to peace and security in Somalia, as evidenced by the latest terrorist attack in Mogadishu, in which dozens of innocent women, children, and men were killed or injured. It routinely commits brazen terrorist attacks at home and abroad and executes targeted political assassinations. It is therefore urgent to accelerate efforts to implement the national security architecture, and we should collectively mount in earnest a meaningful effort to degrade and defeat Al-Shabaab. Djibouti remains committed to peace in Somalia and will continue to contribute in any way it can. In this regard, I wish to inform the distinguished members of the Security Council that the African Union Peace and Security Council, currently chaired by Djibouti, will be conducting a field visit in Somalia on the 27th and 28th of November. The Council will have an opportunity to gather first-hand information and conduct an in-depth analysis of the security situation in the country, and therefore would be in a position to articulate practical, action-oriented recommendations on the way forward. On Eritrea, Djibouti welcomes the lifting of arms embargoes, travel bans, asset freezes, and targeted sanctions on Eritrea. Djibouti's paramount interest, as Council is aware, is to obtain a peaceful, permanent resolution of all boundary and territorial differences in accordance with international law. Those differences arose in 2008, led to an armed conflict that year. have remained unresolved and constitute a threat to Djibouti itself and to international peace and security. Direct negotiations and mediation by third parties have been attempted but failed to make significant progress towards a settlement. Djibouti has called upon the Council, with the assistance of the Secretary General, to facilitate an agreement of the parties to voluntarily submit their boundary and territorial differences for full and final settlement by an impartial third party, such as an international arbitral tribunal or the International Court of Justice, in accordance with Article 33 of the Charter. What Djibouti seeks are impartial, forward-looking measures that assist the parties in settling their prolonged conflict by recommending a specific means of settlement from among those identified in Article 33 and establishing a mechanism leading to agreement on those means. In this regard, Djibouti reiterates its gratitude to the members of the Council for the unanimous support to the resolution just adopted. It underlines the importance of continuing efforts towards the normalization of relations between Eritrea and Djibouti for regional peace, stability, and reconciliation, the settlement of disputes in a peaceful manner consistent with international law, and the support in the resolution of these matters in good faith. As noted in paragraph 3, the President of Djibouti and the President of Eritrea met in Jeddah on September 17, 2018, and agreed to continue efforts towards the normalization of relations between the two countries. Djibouti is committed to deepening dialogue and negotiating in good faith with Eritrea until an amicable resolution is achieved on all outstanding issues. But continued stalemate is not an option. We need to expedite the process. We welcome, in this regard, paragraph 57 of the resolution and underscores the importance of the Council's continued engagement, guidance, and oversight. Djibouti is committed to working with Eritrea until the parties reach a full and final agreement on the international land boundary, the sovereignty over Jumeirah Island, the maritime boundary, and the status of the prisoners of war. On the prisoners of war, 13 remaining prisoners are unaccounted for, are still in Eritrean custody. As we stated before in this chamber, the release of our remaining prisoners of war from the cruelties of their captivity has been uppermost in our thoughts. We will engage meaningfully with Eritrea to clarify the fate of the remaining prisoners of war and work tirelessly to ensure their prompt repatriation. We express hope that after 9 years of stonewalling about them, Eritrea is at last willing to comply with UN Security Council decisions and will engage in good faith on the issue of the Djiboutian combatants missing in action as called for in para 6 of Resolution 2444. The government of Djibouti has authorized the High Commissioner for Refugees to review all of the individual histories of Eritrean prisoners of war held in Djibouti since the clashes of 2008 and to make recommendations with respect to their status and need for protection. Finally, Djibouti welcomes the reporting mechanism as provided for in paragraph 57. We are looking forward to the report of the Secretary General to be presented to the Council no later than 15 February 2019. Indeed, progress can be made, and it can be made swiftly if there is commitment to the process by the disputing states. Monsieur le Président, en conclusion, permettez-moi de réaffirmer la volonté de Djibouti à contribuer au raffermissement des liens de bon voisinage entre les pays de la région. Il nous faut tout mettre en œuvre afin que la métaphore à laquelle nous avons souvent recours pour décrire la dynamique actuellement en cours dans la région, le vent de paix qui souffle dans la corne, ne soit pas qu'un cliché, un slogan creux, au mieux un mot d'ordre sans réalité concrète et palpable. La paix dans la région doit être totale, elle doit être inclusive, elle doit générer une force transformatrice qui permettra, nous l'espérons, aux pays de la Corne de l'Afrique de libérer leur potentiel économique pour le bénéfice des peuples qui l'habitent. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
我感谢吉布提代表的发言。我现在请厄立特里亚代表发言。
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished members of the Security Council. I wish to congratulate China on the assumption of the presidency of the Council for the month of November. For the past 9 years, the delegation of Eritrea has been addressing this chamber, seeking an end of the unwarranted punitive measures imposed on the people of Eritrea. The long overdue call for justice is finally answered with unanimous decision of the Council. The lifting of the sanction will mark an end of a difficult period for Eritrea and the region. The actions and inactions of the Council have had harmful consequences to the people of Eritrea and the Horn of Africa. It entailed 2 decades of missed opportunity for peace and socio-economic progress. On this historic day, I'm humbled to congratulate the people of Eritrea, who have endured persistent external pressures that aim to taint their heroic history and erase their vision for durable peace and economic progress in the Horn of Africa. Eritreans will not look backwards and are not resentful. While mindful of the historical lessons of the past 2 decades, they are determined to create a peaceful and prosperous nation that is worthy of the sacrifice made for over 7 decades to build a harmonious, peaceful, and confident country. Mr. President, Eritreans are extremely joyous to have witnessed the recent positive regional developments. Eritrea as a nation is committed to work with all its neighbors, including Djibouti, to consolidate the gains made since this historic rapprochement between Eritrea and Ethiopia, the peace agreement between Eritrea and Ethiopia, and the tripartite agreement between Somalia, Eritrea, and Ethiopia, which marks the beginning of a new dawn. Eritrea would like to seize this opportunity to thank the courageous position taken by Ethiopia and Somalia, who have called for the immediate lifting of this sanction. While proud of the region's capability to resolve intransigent conflicts at an unprecedented speed, we are not complacent. Eritrea recognizes that a more difficult and complex task is waiting ahead. It is determined to redouble its own efforts and work closely with its neighbors to build a region at peace with itself. A region that befits the desires and aspirations of every woman, man, and child for a dignified life. Eritrea welcomes the good wishes, the encouragement, and the willingness of the international community to show support for this new era. However, more than the good intentions, the region needs an understanding and policy space to chart its own future based on shared history, culture, and the interests of the people of the region. Let me conclude, Mr. President, by thanking all those who have advocated and supported for the lifting of the sanction. I would also like to thank Kazakhstan as chair and UK as pen holder for the constructive engagement they had with my delegation. I thank you.
我感谢厄立特里亚代表的发言。发言名单上没有其他人了，现在休会。